iPads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremont.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day I'm not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now, here's our host to tell you more about what's coming up next. Host? Go, host. There you go, host.
Welcome to
Come on,
BGFG
host.
episode. BGFG episode 443. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and joining me, as always, my brother from another mother, Mr. Fozzy. How are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good. Has the weather been okay down there?
Oh, it's been great.
Hot.
Been in the 60s, high 60s, 70s, low 80s for the last week.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
weather's
farmers
coming up
market's opening up, so I'm going to be able to replenish my ghost pepper sauce supply.
Oh, no. No.
I
Do
buy
not
a
like
bottle,
spicy.
and it lasts me about roughly a year. So I'm not quite out of the last one I bought, but that's this little local guy that makes his own sauces, and
really?
yeah,
Well, that's
you
cool.
can go online and order it, but I always
Go in person.
go in person, chit chat with him.
Right. All right, so we got a good show, I want to say, because I'm trying to encourage myself that it is a good show. Because there's a lot of news going on that we don't want to talk about on the show. Like a lot of the trial stuff with Trump, and there's a lot of like stupid stuff. I don't want to get into the Palestine thing. I just don't. So, there wasn't a lot of other news, but there's entertaining news. So let's get into this week's news, and we'll just kick it right off. BGFG News. You heard it here third. So first up, we have a huge phishing scam shut down in the UK. This is the stuff that we like to see, right? So LabHost was a site that provided criminals access to deliver text messages. So basically you log into the site and you'd buy a grouping of text messages, and you would send out your text message that said, click here to change your password, or your credit is available. Click here to access it. Which
Yeah.
I still don't understand why people fall for those.
Or your UPS package delivery needs to be
Oh.
updated. Something.
That's a great one. That is a great one. UPS package. So they arrested 37 people worldwide. The messages were designed to get you to pay a bill online, essentially, or like Fremo said, that you have to adjust something, which means that you're only paying them, really. The accused helped steal identities, and they are talking like 480,000 credit card numbers, and like 64,000 PIN codes. That's a little wee baby that Fremo's holding right now. Hey there, little buddy. Look at him. He's like, he's that weird dude.
Yeah, that's you right there on the screen.
Yeah, that's you, kiddo.
Get them hooked young.
Yeah, right. So because there's 480,000 credit cards compromised with 64,000 PIN numbers, and those PIN numbers could be anything for any type of credit cards. Detectives don't know exactly how much money was stolen at this time, but it's estimated at slightly over $1.25 million. And LabHost made it so easy that anybody could jump into this website and purchase a series of digits, literally.
Yeah.
And as we've spoke about on the show before, it's great when they don't just shut down the site, when they take the listing of people that have purchased the stuff. Now they have to sift through the people that are like a part of a newsletter or whatever and see if anybody actually purchased it. But the purchasers, the people that actually bought this shit, they're actually going to be pinched too, or at least contacted by the authorities, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and if you,
Um,
if you bought a list of numbers and it was for, albeit, I think I don't think this should these things like lab hosts should exist. Period. But I get it. So if you're a charity organization and you're blasting out text messages for people to donate to your charity, and that's a legitimate thing, then you have nothing to worry about.
Oh, the Democratic National Convention. You'd sign up for that shit once, and immediately the RNC too. You get text messages for the rest of your fucking life. But it's funny because we deal with, in our jobs daily, we deal with software as a service, which is the new hotness, literally. And it makes it a lot less aggravation, I think. But this is like a new venture. This is crime as a service. It really is. And they're out of control. I mean, they're literally everywhere. And I hate that. I hate that so much because they're so hard. You have to involve multiple organizations, Interpol. There's just so many hurdles to overcome. And if they even get wind of it, they'll just shut it down.
I could save all of them a huge amount of time and money. Just give me a task force and don't ask questions.
Just don't even worry about it. We apprehended them. Lawmakers in the U.S. also just voted.
We've noticed that ransomware has basically disappeared. Yep.
Don't ask.
What's the body count on that? I ain't saying.
Lawmakers in the U.S. voted to reauthorize FISA, FISA. Now, that's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Now, Fremo's already smiling because there's a good possibility that we're going to end up on opposite sides of this conversation. So this is going to allow the government to collect communications of foreign individuals.
Continue to collect.
Right. Yeah, good point.
It's been going on for a while.
Right.
The original FISA Act was enacted in 1978.
Yeah. Yep. And they do this by collecting data from tech and phone providers. And of course, it's all under the term of preventing terrorism. Under this bill, critics state that it's also the government's way to sweep communications through Americans or of Americans, which again,
give me a task force and don't ask questions.
Right.
I can solve a lot of problems.
It doesn't look. This bill does allow us to take quicker action against terrorism and cyber attacks. I don't disagree with that. But like we've talked about, with something as simple as like the Ring doorbells, it's great to have access so that you can stop a perpetrator that's traveling down the street. You can find where a problem is using a grouped cameras on the streets, even public ones or private ones. I get that. But then you're always going to have, like we've seen in the Ring doorbell scandals, you have police officers and individuals that have access to that software that are angry about a breakup or are curious if their wife's cheating on them, and they're using those cameras for the wrong reasons. It's just the way shit goes. This is why we've talked about on the show before, why Apple doesn't want to give backdoors to the iPhones, and rightfully so, because once it gets out there, anybody, you can have a guy, we've said it before, you can have somebody that's in a gambling debt, which is ironic because we'll talk about it later. Somebody that has a gambling debt that could, be face to face with somebody that says, hey, look, give me access to that software. We'll forget your gambling debt. Well, now they have access to everybody's software. So there's a problem with it. Now, the NSA and the FBI will not need a warrant to access this data for Americans, right? And like Fremo said, this whole thing started in 1978. And in 2013, it showed us that the U.S. government had global wiretapping programs with some providers not even knowing that they were involved, and it didn't say it in the article in the show notes, but Fremo and I can tell you that there was a program, would it be program or server, called Carnivore, that was at the OC3 level of a lot of service providers. It was private, it was in a locked room, and it was governmental access to prevent terrorism, which is when Fremo got us in trouble for saying all sorts of bomb things with the Obama administration. And that can and was used, they found out, for spying on Americans. Now, there is the argument
Look,
that,
it's not my fault. Okay. I just want to set the record straight.
yes, it was your fault.
The software could not differentiate a bomb and Obama with the way that my, Southern dialect comes across. I was simply talking about Obama all the time, the president, and it kept connecting the way I said it with a bomb.
I wish I clipped that part of that episode that day all those years ago of you just sitting there saying shit in the background quietly, repeatedly over and over again. So don't give me that garbage of you were saying President Obama's name over and over again, because that's not what happened at all. You were saying choice other things.
Till you can prove otherwise.
Oh, here we go.
It's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
So some providers didn't even know that they were involved, and that could have been AT&T, Verizon. They didn't know. What's really problematic is that the bill's wording, like with any bill that comes across Congress, the bill's wording is what's in question. Like, what is the definition of electronic communications service provider? You think it's Cox Cable, Infinity, or Xfinity, I'm sorry, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. That's what you would think with electronic communications service provider. But it could be Nest, it could be Ring, it could be Alexa.
Anything that's electronic that data goes through.
Yeah, it's the doorbell on your house. And this happens every few years.
Your freaking Apple AirPods.
Yeah.
Could fall under that.
Where they change the bill slightly, and every couple of years when they change the bill slightly, we find out about new ways that it's been abused. 2 unnamed service providers, seriously, unnamed, have already informed the NSA that they will not be complying with this new law, which is going to be interesting.
If it wasn't renewed, unfortunately, it was renewed.
Okay, that's fair. But I still think I think it's good that we have these laws in place. But as you can see, everything we're going to talk about in the news this week is all wait and see. Hey, wait and see if anybody abuses this FISA Act.
Well, they will. They will.
Of course they will.
Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That'll never change as long as humans are the way they are, and we're not going to change until something drastic happens, which we won't get into because that's another area of topic we try to leave out of the show as much as possible.
Yeah,
but
it's going to happen.
We are what we are, and I've said it for a long time. Maintain my illusion of privacy and freedom, and you won't get any pushback from me. But they're not even trying to maintain the illusion anymore.
But there's also the argument, and I kind of agree. There's also the argument of locks keep honest people out, and I don't have anything to hide. So what do I care if they scrape?
I'm not worried about it.
That's not the point.
I mean, they can look through all my data all day long. Whatever. I don't care.
Right. I agree with you. I'm 100% behind you on that one. Again, it's the point of it. It's the point of somebody scraping my data, or there's a possibility that information can get out and be used against me. Like, hey, you only make X amount of dollars a year, Mr. Perry. You should rethink how you're taking this loan. Like, how the hell did you get that information? You don't need that information. And usually when I talk to people in real life about this sort of stuff, I reference a car dealership. So like when you go to a car dealership and they say, okay, you want to take the car for a ride? Not a problem. Why don't you fill out this paper first? We'll do some credit checks. We'll start the paperwork off. You take a ride. I say, no, you don't need that. You don't need any of that information. What do you need that information for? Haven't even said I'm going to buy the car. And not to mention, I want to know the bottom line price. Oh, you're going to finance? None of your business. You trading in the car? Also none of your business. I just want to know what the price of the vehicle is, period. What's the best you can do? Then we'll talk about how I'm going to get it into my driveway.
Yeah.
It's no different than your data. What do you need my data for? I had a person come to the counter, last week or the week before, that was telling me that they were compromised. And I said, how are you compromised? And they said, They were told that it was a UPS one. They were told that it was a UPS package that they needed to finish paying. They happened to order something overseas because they're not originally from this country. They ordered something from overseas, so they thought they had to pay some sort of I don't know, excess
Surcharge
tax or
for,
yeah,
yeah,
something like that.
surcharge for
And they gave
customers or something.
they gave their social security number free. Like, why would you even entertain that? There is absolutely nothing online. If I go to a website, I don't even care if it's income tax. If it's the Treasury that needs my information and wants my social security number, I am taking a day off. I am driving down to the Treasury building because every city's got one, and I'm going to physically be there and give them my information. There is no fucking way that my social security number is going to be online. None. Zero. Not going to happen.
Well, I mean, all you gotta do is get what was that, LifeLock?
Oh.
You remember that tool?
Yeah.
Putting his social security number on billboards and stuff, and with LifeLock, nobody can do blah blah blah. And
then he poked people. He poked, and he said, "I can't be hacked. I can't be hacked." And they were like, Anonymous was like, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, watch this.
And they hacked the shit out of him. And I don't think people realize how much big data mining and scraping has become. Like, we're talking billions of dollars a year. And it's not even like you can't sit there and get 100%. Like, you can get mad at these companies that spy on people and sell your data. But you cannot get mad at an actual legal operating business that scrapes data and sells data to marketing companies. It is a viable business that's legit. But then you look at companies like Spy.pet. Spy.pet. That's just weird. They claim, right? They claim that they've scraped billions of public Discord messages. Billions. They've just been sitting there since it got popular and scraping everything. And they're selling that data for cryptocurrency. And I'm like, okay, so you're selling for crypto. All right, this should go great. You're going to be bankrupt in like 2 months. And then you're never going to get that crypto again. And Spy.pet ties these message logs to the users who sent them, also collects Discord aliases and links social media accounts, including Steam, right from Discord. Now, Discord has came out already and said that they're going to investigate, look into it, and stop these third parties. Again, stop using third parties. If you want to make that happen, Freebo and I have said it numerous times. If you want to make that happen, you want your clients or customers to feel safe, stop using third party. Just stop. I know they're giving you a kickback. I know they're paying you. I get that. You're there to make money. But look at what these third parties are doing. Fucking ask them first. Just ask them. Get paper. Get paperwork. Get actual literature written on paper of what they're doing with the information that you give them. And don't just shake your heads and go, well, we authorized it.
Did you read about the Spy.pet, their request removal? Like, you can go to their site and request that they remove your information from what they're selling.
Yeah, it's like a Rickroll. Click on the link, it goes nowhere. This is
It just takes you to that meme of Jameson from Spider-Man 2, the guy that runs the Daily Planet, where he just leans back in his chair, he's just laughing maniacally.
Dude, Spy.pet is like your one-stop shopping for surveillance and harassment needs. It's sad.
Yeah.
They present themselves as an option.
They're gonna get reamed before it's all over.
They got big balls. They got huge balls. They present themselves as an option for federal agencies that are looking for like intel, and it's like they're selling themselves to the FBI and the NSA. Like, hey, come check us out. And like I said, Discord released a statement that said they're going to look into it and see if they can, find anything wrong and block it if they can. Again, people, it's real simple. If Freebo and I were ever going to start a website that got super popular, I guarantee you the third parties that we would deal with, because you need to make money, okay? There is nothing for fucking free online. Get that through your head, sheeple, please. Nothing is free. Nothing. Everybody makes money on something, except really low. Like if you go to our website, BGFG Online, like we are literally making no money. We're a free service and we don't make any money. But if you sign up for something and you give your name, your email address, and possibly your phone number, you are being sold. Period. End
Yeah.
of story. That's how they're
You're going to
making
get
money.
spam email, spam text, something.
On the surface, it says we're going to use third parties. That third party is a marketing agency that's going to take all the information and go, there's a lot of males 25 to 40 that use this site. That's the demographic. And that way you can sell ads. That's the good thing. Unfortunately, that so rarely happens nowadays. Now it's literally they take your information and they sell it to the highest bidder. Hey, I got 5,000 over 60 aged people. And they're like, I'll take that. And they buy that. And that's actually, from what I've read and researched, the over 55 category demographic sells for like double or triple all the other demographics because it's an easy target. When you see that price going, it's an easy target, and it's shitty and it's sad. So just remember, kids, don't put anything online that you wouldn't want to see screenshotted in court. Because that shit will get
Or
back
at your
to you.
grandmother's birthday.
All right. Oh, yeah. Or at your grandmother's birthday. And it's not getting better for real life privacy either, which I find disturbing. Now the police can force you to unlock your phone. So this one really shocked me. For decades, you had the right to tell the police no when they wanted to get into your phone. You could just say, no, sorry. The police normally would need a warrant to get into your device. And normally the Fifth Amendment protects against this. Your Fifth Amendment, and you hear it a lot. You hear, I plead the Fifth, I plead the Fifth. And nobody really understands what that is. But that's stopping you implicating yourself. So let's say if you are a criminal, you get pulled over. They know that you've sold drugs or distributing drugs, and they find like a little tiny sample, or the dog comes over and smells a little bit of cocaine on your carpet. They go, give me your phone. Let me see what you're doing. And in your phone, you know that you have text messages that say, hey, I'm going to pick up an 8-ball. I'm going to drop it off at your house. I left it in your mailbox. I don't know, something like that. That will incriminate you. Before they got into your phone, they didn't have any proof. Now they do. So that's incriminating yourself. But a federal court, and they couldn't do that. They needed a warrant to do that. So they would seize your phone, and they get the warrant, and they fight it. And your lawyer would hopefully come in and say, you have no probable cause to get into the phone. But now a federal appeals court ruled that using your Face ID or fingerprint is no different than giving your fingerprints during a booking. How do you feel about this?
A genius idea.
Oh, God. Is it a good one?
Oh, yeah.
All right. What is it?
You want me to unlock my phone? Okay. Well, normally when I unlock my phone, I use my right thumb. Cop doesn't know that. So he hands it to me. I biometric my left thumb. And guess what that does?
Does it give them access?
It activates a shred my phone program.
That would be funny. That would be funny. It'll also be equally funny at the bar when you're drunk. Just saying. How do you feel about this whole, the fingerprint is the same as booking when you're being booked? Because this again,
it's an overreach.
Words are important. Words are important.
It's like drawing blood. It's like drawing mandatory blood draws for DUI.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It's an overreach, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, because even the wording that they put in legislation is that it's no different than booking. Okay, we just went from a traffic stop to a booking, which means you got detained, you were brought downtown, the word downtown, to
arrested,
the station.
Not detained. At that point, you're arrested. If you're being booked, you've been arrested.
And then this would take, like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, if you're on the street, this is a no-go. It's just a no-go. People don't realize that, like, without probable cause, the police can't even ask you to open the trunk. They can't even go into the glove box. Like, they're not allowed to do that without probable cause. Now, the police do have the opportunity. Like, for instance, there's a lot of, like, weird laws and rules that police follow. And I'm saying that in a good way. I'm not bashing police. I'm saying that, like, if you're walking down the street and you flip off a cop, technically you didn't do anything wrong. There's no litigation precursor. They can't just, they could be angry. They could pull you over or stop you and harass you, but you did nothing wrong. It's not illegal. It's disrespectful, not illegal.
Yeah. Stupid,
Correct. Because they're going to
but
find something
not
for you.
illegal.
But if you get pulled over and they're like, hey, can you, we got word, and this happened to my brother. We got word that you were carrying a gun. He's like, I don't even own a gun. What are you talking about? They're like, can you open your trunk? He's like, no, you can't open my trunk. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sitting right here. I was doing the speed limit. They're like, well, how about opening your hood? He's like, what the hell? Why would you want my hood open? The hell does that have to do with anything? But they ended up opening up his entire vehicle. They took
I'm
everything
not
out of it.
opening the
left it
hood.
on the-
That's where I keep all the drugs. I mean,
They took everything out of the vehicle, everything out of the trunk, and left it on the ground and then left. They're like, oh, we couldn't find any gun. You're in luck today. And left. He's like, you're going to help me pick up this shit? Like, I remember parked across the street because he had let me know what happened. And I parked across the street and I'm watching him yell at the cops. Oh, I loved when he did that. He's yelling, you going to help me clean this shit up? What the fuck? And they just left. But those are the police officers. Now I know bad police officers. I know good police officers. There is always going to be those too. But the link in the show notes goes into depth as to how a drug trafficker was pulled over and forcibly made to use his thumb to unlock his phone. And this proved that he was distributing drugs.
yeah.
That could be considered entrapment, possibly, but definitely breaks the Fifth Amendment. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even a lawyer at all, and I've done stupid things in my life, been in trouble with the law.
The problem is this is all going to be based on the interpretation of whatever judges it goes in front of. And they're just like you have good cops and bad cops. You have good judges and bad judges. You have judges with an agenda. You have judges that are bought. And that's why we're in the situation where this particular judge said, no, this is no different than getting your fingerprint at a booking.
And I got to be honest for you.
It's wrong. And this will end up going, maybe not this particular case, but this issue will end up at the Supreme Court at some point.
I got to say that I am kind of on the fence about this. I got to be honest. I'm not sure. Like, you got drugs and a dealer off the streets. That is great. This particular case, this particular story, if you click on the link in the show notes, the guy was distributing and selling fentanyl. You know, that is a fucking evil drug, right? So we got him off the streets. We got the drug off the streets. But again, it comes down to the question of rights and privacy. I mean, our lawmakers are struggling with what...
I mean, if you've got nothing to hide, then there's not a problem with them telling you to unlock your phone. And the issue that it boils down to is, at what point do they continue to be able to do things? I mean, because we can all get in trouble for something.
Sure.
I mean, period. They can twist anything the way they want it, you know?
Yep.
So it's just, it really comes down to a matter of principle, and the principle that's being violated here is delineated in our Constitution. You have the right to not self-incriminate.
Correct.
Period. Now, if you're a bad person like this guy apparently was,
yep,
you know, it makes the issue seem a little gray as far as whether they should be allowed to do this or not do this. But the long and short of it is, if you're going to give a judge the power to trounce on one of the constitutional rights that we have,
right,
with no justification, no precedence, then what else are they going to do? What else are they going to be able to take away from you? So
I think legislation as a whole right now is having trouble on what to allow and what not to allow the police to do. Look at the judge that just recently ordered YouTube to reveal the names of everyone that watched the video.
Yeah.
You know, we've always wondered here on the show how many governmental lists we would be on thanks to things that come out of Fremo's mouth.
It's
Now-
not just me, brother.
Oh, yes, it is. Don't even try. Now in unsealed documents. Now in recently unsealed documents, Google was
I don't say anything on the show that I won't say in person in front of a cop or a judge.
that is absolutely true, people. I have physically been there. And there's no filter. Now in unsealed Google documents,
Raise your head if you've ever criminally trespassed the sheriff deputies off of your property.
that was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Was that the other house? Yeah, that was the previous.
Yeah. Yeah, had to trespass them all the property. It was like, look, you either leave or I can get the state troopers out here to take y'all away. It's up to y'all, but you've been trespassed. I verbally have told you you're trespassing. You have to leave.
Google was ordered to hand over names, addresses, telephone numbers, and user activity of a YouTube accounts that watch certain videos. Now, just chew on that for a minute. Google was ordered by the government to give up, right? To give up names, addresses, information. It's unclear what specific videos were involved, but it was crypto laundering. And the video was watched by over 30,000. It was watched over 30,000 times. Man, I wish we could have those numbers, please. We watched videos all the time to bring the late news to our viewers and listeners. Now, if we were looking at this to work on a news story, we're part of that list too. And that's not right.
Well,
That's
I mean,
not-
or go the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon with this. I guarantee you, everybody on this planet within 7 jumps is connected to somebody that watched this video.
Right.
So,
And-
this person watches it, they share it with this person, next thing you know, some asshat
Yep.
shares the link with all of his contacts, and you happen to be, his third cousin, and you get it, and
Yep.
you're like, what is this? And you click on it, now you've watched it.
Right. And the agency that requested this information told Google not to publicize the request.
Yeah.
What's the point in having warrants or disclosure at this point if you're going to do stuff like that? I understand not letting the criminals know. We talked about it when it comes to breaches. Corporations don't let you know about the breaches immediately because they want to catch the people that are doing it.
Here's the
prevent the
really
future.
scary thing for me in all of this, right?
All right.
I don't like you.
Thank you.
And-
Fuck you too.
And I happen to know that the cops are going to pull everyone in that watched this video.
Yeah.
So I've added your name to the list.
Right. Yeah. We said this before. There's going to be issues. There's going to be issues like this. And I understand not letting the criminals know what we're doing. But where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? There's got to be a stop somewhere. And I can see it from
I
both
say we
sides.
just go back to the old west.
Can't do that.
I'll see you outside at noon.
I can see both sides of the argument, though. The police are trying to do what they can to keep people safe. But at the same time, you can't breach basic laws and rights in the Constitution.
Well, the problem. Wow, I can't go where I want to go with this, but I'll try and sum it up like this.
Okay.
There are good people that are trying to keep us safe, and they're unfortunately not the ones at the top.
Right.
So the ones at the top are pushing for these things to happen because they're going to use it in a nefarious way.
Right.
Don't think for a minute that the people running our government don't want us to end up exactly like China, where the government is control of everything and everyone. And this is just another piece of that puzzle. They would love to have us on social credit, like China has their people on social credit, where if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, you are now an outcast in society. and good luck finding something to eat.
Something to eat.
That's
Man,
where
that's
it's headed.
unfortunate. I
I mean,
don't.
China's already doing that. You say the wrong thing in China, or you don't with certain things.
Well, again, we have to
Where did
wait
he
and
go?
see.
Well, he was here
As a
last
people,
week.
as a people, we have to wait and see, and hope that the people that we put in power, and in our votes, count enough to not allow that to happen. Again, it's hope. It's really hope.
Yeah. And I'm not, when I say the people in power, I'm not talking about a political party. I'm talking about all of them.
Well, right. There's good and bad.
All of them.
Yeah, there's senators that are
Both
great.
sides of the fence.
Then you got Boebert
Yeah.
and Marjorie Taylor Greene that are just, scumbags of the earth. Just have no clue what their job even entails. Like I've watched some C-SPAN stuff where Boebert, especially, and yeah, we don't talk political, I'm sorry, but I'm just mentioning the fact that somebody's in power in Congress, that elder Congress people, both male and female, are sitting there and correcting her on a regular basis. Like, did you read the document? Like, just constantly,
Yeah.
because again, like Freemo was just pointing out, it's all clips. It's all quick bites, sound bites. It's something they could put on YouTube, something they could put on an Instagram feed real quick. It doesn't have any validity, but the fact that it gets out there, it's like when we talk about The Onion and your aunt republishes an Onion story on Facebook. It says, "Oh my God, I can't believe this just happened," when it's not even a true story, but it seems that way. That's how we propagate that bullshit. And it's just, you hope that it doesn't happen, but we have to wait and see. Let's get into this week's news so we can get to more fun stuff.
You mean music? We already did the news. You said news.
Correct. Music. In continuing with our very early rendition of the Summer of Covers, I should never open my mouth. This week, we're going to do Fozzy, Chris Jericho, the wrestler's band called Fozzy. And they covered an ABBA song called SOS. And it's not too bad. It's not too bad. So, Freemo shaking his head. It's ABBA, but they do.
Okay, I'll
do
put
a
it
good
this
job.
way. They did a good job of covering the song. That does not mean that the song is good.
Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that. So let's get to it. It's Fozzy doing ABBA cover SOS, and we'll catch you on the other side. I was talking and nothing was going on. Fozzy covering ABBA SOS. Again, I have several months to go for this, and not all of them are going to be champion songs. They're just not. Sorry. Going to be a lot of
Yeah, if y'all have any
repeats.
suggestions or anything you want to hear as far as a cover, please send in some suggestions. It'll make our life a little bit easier.
Oh yeah. So this week I am drinking the Modelo. I haven't gone to the other liquor store where I get more German beer. But are you having anything to imbibe?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I got me a Schweppes ginger ale as a chaser.
A chaser for what, Free? Oh shit. Okay, let's get going. Okay. Heat down that mason jar, so we got about 30 minutes. Let's get into stick style.
Gaming.
That was rough.
First up in this week's stick style, we wanted to talk a little bit about all the recent reorganizations and mergers and layoffs that are happening with tech companies and, companies as a whole. And it pisses people like me and Freemo, most of Generation X, off that you're stripping the identity. Now, we've known that as soon as Microsoft buys a company, the countdown's on. You get 3 to 6 months before they strip your company completely and the identity is gone. Well, now you have something which totally caught me off guard. You have Turtle Beach. Of all companies, Turtle Beach bought the German accessory maker Rockcat back in 2019. Now, Rockcat has made, they weren't the biggest mouse and keyboard gaming company, but they did have enough brand recognition that they had shelf space at like Walmart, a Best Buy, a Target. They actually had shelf space. So you got to be doing something right with your brand when you have shelf space. PR rep for Turtle Beach said that nothing else has changed other than the name Rock Cat has been dropped. Well,
Yeah, because nothing
Turtle
says
Beach.
fear more than Rock Cat, except maybe Turtle Beach.
Right. Yeah. So now you're just taking the technology. Like you had a brand that was better than your own. I don't care what you say, Turtle Beach.
Yeah.
Rock Cat was more recognizable than Turtle Beach. If you put two keyboards next to each other, gamers are going to buy the Rock Cat one. If those are the only two choices, they're taking that one.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't a good idea. Turtle Beach is not the first company you think of for mice and keyboards. They're not. And usually they're only known for subpar headsets at the very best, at least I should say. So I think that's another shitty brand drop.
Which is a shame because when Turtle Beach first hit the scene,
they were the go-to.
Yeah.
Turtle Beach and Kensington.
They did nothing to stay on top. They're like, we're just going to ride this wave. R&D, who needs it? That's cutting into my Cabo money.
Did you ever play Wolf Among Us back in the day? Telltale game?
Yeah. I mean, that was 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Wolf Among Us is a 2013 Telltale game. The game combined
I nailed it.
Yeah, you did. The game combined good storytelling, it mixed fairy tale characters, and a murder mystery style in today's world. It was very interesting, compelling, all cell shaded, and it looked good. And it was great for a couch one. So you could sit there with your significant other, and you can actually pick which way you want to go. It was great. The sequel was announced in 2019, so it's like, oh, great, sequel's announced. Then Telltale Games came under new management. And as always, when it comes under new management, you never know what's going to happen, especially with all the recent stuff that's happened with mergers and acquisitions and things like that. I'm frankly surprised that this is still being worked on, but it is. Telltale assured everyone that it's still coming. They even recently shared several screenshots from the new game. So let's hope that it does come out sometime soon. They're still projecting. They're like, look, we released these pictures, but the game's not close to being done. One of the big reasons is that they're going from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. And I don't know enough about programming to say anything, but apparently that's a big deal right now is making that transition from those two. So let's hope that the next generation of gamers...
if they had actually developed this in a timely fashion, they wouldn't have to worry about that problem now, would they?
Right. Let's just hope that comes out. And we're also hoping that the next generation of gamers aren't as stupid as they predict. And sometimes we speak too soon when we say that. It looks like a company named Salad, and I didn't even know this company existed. A company named Salad uses it's a program software that
You're
uses
basically signing up to be a bot.
Yeah,
Illegal bot.
Yeah, literally. They use your GPU power, so when your computer's like on idle, you can use your GPU resources. It'll dial in and it'll use your GPU resources to crunch numbers. Now, anybody in Gen X are related to the SETI screensaver that we had when we were decades ago. And I always thought that was cool. I put it on a bunch of my computers because at the time I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to have my computer in sleep mode. You're going to use my processing power of my computer to crunch numbers from the satellite information that you're getting because it's just so much, which was great. You're helping the search for extraterrestrial life. Great, we did that. This works very similar, except your prize for this one, because you don't get prizes with SETI, it was just doing a good deed, crunching numbers,
helping mankind.
Science. Right. This one, they'll give you game codes, gift cards, and other items for using the GPU. But there's one feature that's on by default.
I wish they would pay the portion of the power bill.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
That they, are causing you, because that's the other thing. They're using power, lots of power.
Yeah, they're using your GPU at 100%. So that's causing power. The software will use your GPU to generate adult content, apparently. And this is by default. Salad Reps said that their Discord servers stated that you can shut it off and may cause you to earn less. Yeah, because it's big business. Look, porn is always big business. The biggest earned items, if you go to their website, the biggest earned items are Roblox gift cards, Fortnite skins, and Minecraft vouchers. Any guess as to what that target demographic is?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's not a lot of Gen Xers that are playing Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite. I mean, we've played Fortnite just for the fun of it, but I'm not signing up for this to use my gaming PC resources. Not to mention all the shit that's going on the back end, the selling of your information to third parties. It just goes on and on. And the
Yeah.
Salad website company explains
And they could at least give you a discount on a new GPU because yours is going to wear out a whole lot faster.
Or at least make it, I don't know, give a discount for OnlyFans. I know there's, I don't know because they're using the workloads to generate images, text, and videos of an adult nature, and they insist that they are scrubbed from the user's machine when the workload is complete. Well, I can tell you from using the SETI program before, that workload is quite extensive, and it's going to be quite a while before that gets scrubbed off of your computer. So, I'm going to go ahead and call it
Bullshit.
And like I said, there wasn't a whole lot this week, but lastly, and this one's mostly for Freemo, Bethesda said not to worry. They hasn't forgotten about Starfield, Free. They haven't. The game, it slipped my memory about how we work as technology people. That game only came out 7 months ago. It's not old.
Yeah.
Yet the fan base is already at 50%. I haven't played it in a minute. You play it all the time. But I've already progressed through the bunch of the Game Plus modes. You haven't even done one yet, which I'm excited for you to do one at one point.
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you will. Eventually.
Have you seen there's a new game supposedly in the works. It's called Jump something.
No.
Which I have to find it. Anyway, what's that one game that's been out for a while where you can do your own shipbuilding and it's actually multiplayer?
Oh,
Star
Citizen?
No, it's called No something.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, yeah. Okay, so you have No Man's Sky, which has a dedicated fan base. It's got stuff that Starfield doesn't have.
Yep.
And vice versa. In fact, No Man's Sky added shipbuilding recently because of Starfield.
Right, and it's an equally popular game.
Yeah, but apparently there's some new, and it's called Jump something. I'm gonna have to find it, and it's supposed to be the best of both of these games together.
Again, we'll have to wait and see because there's been a lot of accusations. This game only came out 7 months ago, Starfield, and when compared to a game like Helldivers that really hasn't had any updates other than basic fixes. So like Helldivers is the equally popular one with our generation in our stick style show. So Helldivers continuously does updates, upgrades. You have to stay on top of things. Game Master Joel is throwing curves left and right. You never know what you're going to get on there and find. But Starfield hasn't had any updates, and they promised us a lot of updates and a lot of different things. And you can see where this is something that Bethesda is struggling with. And you got to give Bethesda a little bit of credit because they have the recent uptick in the interest in Fallout because of the TV show. So the TV show, which I've watched, the Fallout TV show, is great. It was really well done. It really nailed what I feel is the essence of the game itself. But again, it's a hit TV series. Why not make money on that? I can't blame Bethesda for doing that. Fallout downloads since the series aired have risen, and I shit you not, 7,000% for their downloads. And as a company, you can see where their head's at. As a company, you're going to go with whatever's making you money. And right now, Fallout's making them a shit ton of money. So why not compromise on that? Now you got to take Starfield and put it a little bit on the back burner. But even it's so popular right now, and they're revamping and adding things to it that they're even putting the development of Fallout 5 over Elder Scrolls, which is farther ahead in the process.
Right.
Now, all things Bethesda promised in December are still on track, apparently, for Starfield. Faster ways to travel, city maps, new shipbuilding options, and more exciting, the mod creation kit, where you can actually legally, according to the game developer, add mods. So you'll have a whole console and panel that you can add, more room on your ship to store stuff, bigger carrying capacity, things like that. And then you also have the downloadable content called Shattered Space. That'll be added in new story content that Freemo knows nothing about. But eventually, hopefully, before that DLC, he'll at least hit it one time and finish that story. And honestly, Free, when you
Jump
decide
Ship's the name of the new one.
Jump
Co-op
Ship,
multiplayer game. You have to work together in order to survive as you operate and repair your ship, scour space debris, blah, 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 blah.
that might be something we have to try. Because that
Yeah.
sounds, especially if we're working together, that should be entertaining and funny at the very least.
As long as you don't have a drone with a laser, we should be good.
Now, in defense of Freemo, when the DLC drops for Starfield, that's going to be the opportunity for Freemo to finish at least one playthrough. And at the rate that he's at right now, that one playthrough is going to take him about half an hour, because he's just going to annihilate everything and everybody in his path, because if he's so OP'd at this point. So we'll wait and see what the download is going to look like. The DLC content's going to look like. I got to jump back in there just to get my feet wet again and see what's what. Because like I said before, I've done 8 pass-throughs already.
Do you remember Vulture's Roost?
Sounds familiar, but no, I don't remember it like right off the top of my head.
It was like an elliptic base on this planet.
I might have. Because I think I accidentally went there and went in and I was like, oh my God, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I walked through it.
That does not surprise me. Not even a little. Weren't you telling me the other day that you have a gun right now with like over 9,000 rounds? Like I wish I had 9,000 rounds.
Yeah, I think the least that I'm carrying, the least amount of ammo for any of the weapons that I'm carrying is probably in the 400 or 500 range.
God, I wish. All right, let's get into the last segment.
Roughly 175 plus on med kits, trauma packs, emergency kits, and panaceas.
I wish.
Still don't have as many digipicks as I would like.
You never do. All right, first up in For What's Worth this week, a great story. NASA's Psyche hits 25 megabytes per second in an optical communications demonstration. So this, I thought, was, again, we love doing NASA news because, and again, for the people that are just joining in, because I know there's some new listeners, we do the NASA news because it's exciting. We went to the moon in 69.
I was going to say, you need to add a little context to that.
Yeah.
That you just gave. You're like 25 megabits a second, and everybody's like, so I can get that on my Cricket phone. Yeah, this was from 140 million miles away from space.
Right. In space. Like we get excited about the NASA stuff, not because we're NASA nerds. We're not going to sit here and break down all that stuff. But the fact that we went to the moon in 1969 and now there's a mad rush by all nations to get back to the moon. And it really is exciting because it's hit or miss. Like we've had a Russia who was the first to get to space before us. Russia just like literally dropped the ball. Literally dropped the ball in space. We got Japan, who you think, well, they know what the fuck they're doing. They landed a lunar module on the moon and it broke. The feet broke and it just tipped over sideways.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting to see this stuff. We're trying to travel farther.
Again, give me a task force. Don't ask questions. I will establish a base on the moon. We will own it.
There was a story that I put in because, again, clickbait. I saw the headline. I put it in the show and I ended up erasing it about midweek because it was about spiders found on Mars. And that was the clickbait. When you read it, it wasn't. It was just these markings on the planet's surface from possible storms that made it look like there was spider-looking elements on the ground.
Yeah.
But it is exciting to see all these different things that we're doing. Now, back to what we were talking about, the 25 megabits per second. Like Fremo said, this is huge because they're transmitting data back to Earth from, like Fremo said, 140,000 miles away.
140 million.
I'm sorry, 140 million miles away. The test material is pretty funny too, though, because as they progress, and again, they're talking about this one at 25 megs, right near the asteroid that they've targeted, which is impressive. But they had to keep testing it. It's not like they went all the way to 140 million miles and then hit the test button. They've been testing it the whole way through.
Yeah.
And just like any other geek, scientist, and nerd, you'd expect that they've been testing all fun, different things. They've been sending memes. They've been sending cat videos. At one point,
Yeah,
I believe
they were at 19 million miles. They were still doing 267 megabits per second, which is, that's good. That's
substantial.
really good.
Yeah.
Their goal at 140 million miles was to try and maintain 1 megabit per second, and they were still getting 25. So that's pretty impressive.
That is. I'm wondering if they rickrolled each other. One department rickrolled the other department. Hey, we're sending another package. Like 10 o'clock at night where you're just doing random tests.
Tell us when you get it.
It's a cat video. Click on it. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna. That's shit that we would do. That was literally shit that we would do. But then
or just record some static and be like, okay, we're gonna send through an audio file. Did you get it? All we got was static. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But they got down to business. They downloaded 10 minutes of duplicate spacecraft data from that distance. As always, with any over-the-air transmissions, it's difficult to get through the weather on this planet or any sort of weather or static that you have in space, from solar flares to other asteroids that they're going through.
Yeah.
I just think it's fucking funny, and you can't help but say it, that I can't get good connection to the third floor. But they can make a connection.
These dudes are sending cat videos 140 million miles into space.
Yeah. Oh, and finally this week is a topic that I really want to touch upon, because we said it. We told you. We warned you about this. It's bullshit and it's embarrassing as a country. But we allowed gambling to get rampant. So when you legalized apps and sports betting, everybody said this is going to be a problem. And then you saw the ads all over TV. Anything that you were watching, there was ads. And America bet heavy on gambling. And look where it's gotten us to this day. Sports betting is big, big business. And the sports betting ban was lifted in 2018. From 2019 to 2020, revenue grew 69%. And then after 2020, another 270% at the beginning of 2021. Because during 2019 to 2020, they proved that it was viable. But then you had the pandemic. Once we started coming out of the pandemic, all these people that were sitting at home doing sports betting on the shows that they could and the things that they could do, it exploded. 270% increase.
Yeah. And you can literally bet on anything and everything. You want to put a bet on there that this particular player will have to retie his laces in the third quarter of a game. You can put that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And the once scared and offended industry of the NBA, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, they've now embraced sports betting because they were getting a kickback. Like, these organizations don't make enough money. And there was plenty of ways of doing it. You have FanDuel, DraftKings,
And if
Dog,
you were
BetMGM.
worried that because it's been a big rumor for a long time that the NFL's been scripted, like who's going to get the Super Bowl that year and stuff. Like obviously they can't script every
Right.
move of every play.
Right.
Yeah. It's
There's
getting really, really almost to the point where they can't deny that certain things are
when you're
being scripted so that they can benefit from the gambling profits.
and when you're betting on stuff outside of the general outcome of said game, that becomes a problem. When you're betting on, I don't know, a certain player making 40 points.
Yeah.
Well, what
I'm
happens
pulling a
if
triple
their
double in a
sibling,
basketball
right?
game.
What happens if their siblings are betting on them? Let them know, and then they're like, I'm going to come up with a bad hammy at 38.
Yeah.
And sit down for the rest of the game. I mean, you can bet on individual people. You can bet on events that happen during the game, like Freeman was saying, like from the coin toss. There's even talk that they may be able to bet on pro wrestling. Are you fucking people idiots? Like, are you idiots? This is a predetermined sport, okay? And it's not just like, if you look at the WWE, it's not just Paul Levesque, Triple H. It's not just Paul Levesque that knows the outcome. His staff knows the outcome most likely. The two wrestlers know the outcome. Even if it's right before the match, they still know the outcome. So you're betting on bullshit. And sure, there's a disclaimer at the bottom of all the app commercials with a number to call if you have a gambling addiction. Well, that's kind of closing the barn doors after the horses get out, don't you think?
Yeah.
Legal age for betting is 21, but ads during what?
Hell in a handbasket. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Hell in a handbasket, folks. It ain't going to change anytime soon.
Legal age for betting is 21, but ads during games in stadiums and with star athlete sponsors, it's really normalizing betting to our youth. Now, I'm not going to sit here and get on a soapbox and tell you about you have to protect the kids. It's all about the kids. No, but if the kids turn around and go and see betting constantly, and they know that maybe their parents, their uncle, or their siblings are betting, they're more likely to bet, and this becomes a problem. New Jersey Gambling Hotline said that they have an increase of 60% over the past couple of years. And it's gotten to the point where even the NBA on their league pass, this one really tweaked me because I don't watch NBA anymore. I don't. I don't like the way the game goes. I think if anybody goes in the paint and they get touched and they cry, it's like you don't even realize what it was like to get elbowed by Shaq, like for 40 minutes every night, you know? This is
And that right there, that one thing right there should shut down any arguments about whether anybody from this time frame is better than anybody from the 80s, the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
There's no comparison. The physicality back then would break 99% of the players in the NBA.
100%. 100%. But the NBA's League Pass streaming platform, this one really tweaked me. You're able to opt in to view betting odds on the app's interface and click through to place bets right there on the screen. And the worst part is now you're having to investigate players to see if they're changing the outcome of the game to cover their own bets. That's a fucking problem. And you know what the sad thing is? That people in Generation X, we warned you. We fucking told you that we all have somebody that we know or somebody in our family or our immediate circle that gambles. They bet.
Yeah.
They bet all the time. They'll bet on anything. Shit.
It's crazy. It's crazy. If Pete Rose played today, he'd make the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Yes, because he can bet. It's really you know what?
And for those of you who don't know who Pete Rose is, go look it up. I'm not going to bother trying to explain it to you.
Fremo said it best. We're going to hell in a handbasket. We have to slow this down. And all the stories this week were all about, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if gambling dies down. Let's wait and see if the gaming industry gets their shit together and stops canceling everything. Let's wait and see if the legislation shows that we have some sort of privacy when we get pulled over randomly because the police officer didn't like my car or didn't like the fact that I revved my engine. It's all a wait and see, and it's bullshit. And I'm not happy. Do you have anything else this week?
Give me a task force. Don't ask questions. I'll straighten it out in no time.
All right, that's it for this week. Tents down, show's over.
Whoop, whoop.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.